Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military of a Summary channel, and this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have a lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. We have a lots of very interesting updates from the area of the special military operation, and we have a lots of very important updates from the area of the Israeli-Iranian conflict. First, let's talk about Ukraine, because during the previous 12 hours, the Russians carried out massive missile and drone strike over the entire territory of the city of Kiev, the capital of Ukraine. The Russians used the biggest number of targets, the biggest number of units during that attack. According to information we have, according to pro-Ukrainian sources, the Russians launched around 500 units in the direction of the territory of the city of Kiev. We're talking about missiles, we're talking about ballistic, we are talking about cruise missiles, and we are talking about everything that Russia has. The Ukrainians, according to information we have, during the previous nights managed to bring down 428 targets. Obviously, the numbers are very, very big. But when talking about real videos and real situation on the ground, it seems that Ukrainians are telling us maybe a little bit incorrect information. Because, for example, in this video, we can see how Russian missiles and drones were bombing and attacking the territory of the city of Kiev without facing any resistance from the Ukrainian side and from their air defense systems. So no problems, no barriers. It seems that the Russians destroyed almost everything they wanted to destroy. Later this morning, we got another probable picture, some analysis where we can see fire anomalies all over the entire territory of the city of Kiev. According to information we have, strong fires were recorded in the industrial district Adradny in Kiev. The fire also engulfed the territory of the international airport in the Kiev and the industrial area around it. According to information we have, the Ukrainians used this territory to keep to collect their Patriot systems of air defense. The city of Kiev, but the territory of the railway station Darnitsa was damaged as well, and several explosions took place on the territory of Zaporizhzhia. So once again, it seems that the Russians managed to destroy everything they wanted to destroy. And this morning, I believe everybody has already seen this picture and this video where we can see huge black smoke screen above the city of Kiev. And obviously, when talking about this video, when talking about these consequences, obviously the Russians managed to destroy something important, something big, maybe some warehouse or ammo depot or fuel storage of the armored forces of Ukraine. Obviously, the Russians managed to deal significant damage to Ukraine and to their military forces. At the same time, during the previous night, we got lots of reports about casualties among civilians. This is another terrible picture that we got from the city of Kiev, and here we can see that one block of the building was completely destroyed as a result of Russian missile strike or as a result of Ukraine air defense work. So the entire building was destroyed, and obviously there were casualties among civilians. So the Russians attacked the city of Kiev without any barriers, without any problems, and this is very interesting and very important because the Russians, yes, they are bombing Ukraine from time to time, but obviously this was the biggest and the largest attack since the beginning of the special military operation. And I believe that the main reason of this attack is the situation in Iran. Because, for example, the Israelis from their side continue bombing and attacking the city of Tehran, the capital of Iran. There were lots of explosions recorded during the previous 24 hours. According to information we have, the Israelis continue bombing and attacking the Iranians' military facilities, probably warehouses, ammo depots, and fuel storages all over the entire territory of the city of Tehran, the capital of Iran. And now as for me, it's become clear why the Western countries, the United States of America, the Ukraine itself, the United Kingdom, France, were trying to force the Russian Federation a month ago to accept the Western and unconditional ceasefire. If you remember, there were so many talks about that. The Western countries were trying to force Russians to accept this ceasefire. The United States of America promised Putin that they will lift some sanctions, that there would be some prisoner exchange process, and many other benefits were promised by the Western countries to the Russian Federation. Just accept this unconditional ceasefire. But Putin probably he felt something those days, and most likely this is the reason why he refused to accept any ceasefire, because maybe his intelligence provided him some information, maybe for any other reason. But now we see that the Western countries decided to redeploy every single air defense system, as many as possible air defense systems and missiles to these air defense systems in the direction of the Middle East to support Israel in the battle in their fight with Iran. And of course, now Ukraine is completely empty. And Zelensky several days ago reported that Russia is preparing another probably missile strike all over the entire territory of Ukraine, including another strike on Ukraine energy facilities. So he knew something, he felt something, and he realized everything during the previous days. So now we see that Russia is bombing the territory of Ukraine and the city of Kiev as never before. At the same time, we see that Israel intensified their attacks on the territory of Iran. Furthermore, according to information we have, US builds up strike group of Iran, aircraft carriers, tankers, and alarm signals. Washington has sharply increased its military presence in the region amid the escalation conflict between Israel and Iran. The second carrier group includes USS Nimitz, which has left the South China Sea, is heading to the Middle East to join USS Carl Vinson and the British Prince of Wales. So they're going to be a very powerful fleet group of the United States of America, of not just states but of the entire coalition. And obviously, and some sources are saying that we are going to see the strikes of the entire Western coalition on Iran. So furthermore, we got reports that during the previous 24 hours, during the previous night, the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, was forced to break his visit to Canada, where we had another G7 meeting. He made a lot of statements, by the way, during that meeting. He stated that if Russia had not been excluded from G7, there would not have been a war in Ukraine at all. He made lots of statements, but he was forced to interrupt his meeting according to the situation in the Middle East. Furthermore, according to information we have, he asked his people from different military offices to stay tuned and to be as close as possible to the situation room. So lots of experts are saying that the next 24 hours, there are very high chances that the United States of America will join Israel's attack on the territory of Iran. When talking about Iran, during the previous 24 hours, they continue bombing and attacking the territory of Israel, but every single day we can see less and less missiles that are being used by Iran. During the first day of confrontation, according to information we have, Iran used more than 300 missiles, then they used just 100 missiles, then 50 missiles, and according to information we have, during the previous 24 hours, they used at least a little bit around 15 missiles or something like this. Another important statement made by Israel not interested in negotiations and doesn't rule out assassination of Iran's supreme leader. That was stated by the Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu. Very interesting. Obviously, we are on the probably some before another round of escalation. Now let's return back to Ukraine and let's continue with the situation on the ground. During the previous 24 hours, we got lots of very interesting statements and updates. First, let's talk about the Sumy direction. According to information we have, the Russians managed to secure the village of Tetkina completely. If you remember, during the previous days, we got a lot of reports, some changes on the ground in Ukrainian favor, where the Ukrainians were attacking the southwestern part of the village of Tetkina, the southeastern part. We had lots of episodes, adjustments on map on different mappers and so on. But today we got a video that was published by the Ukrainian sources. This is the video we're talking about, and here we can see how how Ukrainians were attacking Russians in the most southwestern part of the settlement. Based on this video, we have adjusted the map and we have colored the southwestern part of Tyotkina in Russian favor. So this video proves that the Russians managed to regroup themselves, to counterattack and to restore positions almost over the entire settlement of Tyotkina. Of course, let's wait and see what is going to be next, but obviously if the Russians are able to restore control over the village of Tyotkina completely, there are very high chances that the Russians would continue moving further in the territory of Ukraine with the purpose to attack the settlements of Ryzhovka, Atynskaya, Budki and Iskrinishchica. So there are very high chances that the Russians will continue and that they're not going to stop. When talking about the original Sumy direction, during the previous 24 hours, the Russians continued their offensive operation in the central direction of attack. According to several sources, the Russians managed to improve their position significantly to the south of the settlement of Varachina, and according to pro-Russian resources, the village of Mala Kachkarovka was also secured by the Russians during the previous 24 hours completely. We are waiting for additional reports from different sources, and once again, exactly from this area, we got a lot of icons and geolocations. In this video, we can see how Russians were bombing and attacking the next forest to the village of Varachina, which means that most likely the Russians have some plans to attack further in this direction. As for now, we understand the main purpose of the Russians is to establish complete control over the first part of the second defense layer in the central direction of offensive. So the Russians are planning to take everything under control along this red line and further in the northern direction. As for the village of Yunakivka, as you can see, we have no changes. During the previous night, nothing changed in this area. The Russians continue their offensive operation from the north. The Ukrainians try to hold their lines in the southern part. There are very heavy clashes, and as we can see, the Ukrainians show fierce resistance. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Siversk direction. During the previous 12 hours, the Russians continued their attempts to attack the settlements of Serebryanka. Several mappers confirmed additional progress on the ground to the west of the village of Grigorovka. Now we have no doubts that the village of Grigorovka is already behind the Russian backs. So the Russians somewhere in the middle between the settlement of Serebryanka and Grigorovka, and the Russians are preparing themselves before the beginning of their final offensive operation in the direction of Serebryanka. Furthermore, several pro-Russian resources reported that the Russian army advanced to the village of Serebryanka during the previous 12 hours. So maybe today we're going to receive first updates from the eastern part of this settlement, a key settlement in this direction. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the area of Konstantinovka. When talking about the Kleban-Byksky pockets, about the southeastern part, the most interesting updates are coming from the city of Chasiv. Today, pro-Russian sources reported that the Russians improved their positions in the Shevchenko micro-district, and they took several buildings and several streets under complete control. As for now, the Ukrainians, according to information we have, controlled just around 30 or 40% of this Shevchenko micro-district, and the Ukrainians are falling back further in the western direction. Let's discuss the situation in the Kleban-Byksky pockets. According to information we have, during the previous 12 hours, the Russians continue their offensive operation along these three lines in the direction of the settlement by the name of Katerinovka. So the Russians are advancing, trying to tighten the noose around positions of the armored forces of Ukraine in this area. As for the N32 road, something interesting is happening here right now. During the previous 12 hours, we got a lot of reports, a lot of icons, lots of different statements that were made by different sources. The Russians are advancing in this direction. Probably 3 or 4 independent resources published different updates about the situation in this area. According to information we have, the Russians during the previous 12 hours improved their positions in the fields. The Russians managed to secure this dense network of the fortifications, and the Russians, according to pro-Ukrainian sources, secured the area between Grodovka and Malinovka. So once again, when summarize everything, the Russians improved their positions along these roads of attack. The Russians improved their positions along these roads of attack, and the Russians improved their positions along these roads of attack. So it's something like broad frontline attack in the direction of Novaya Ekonomichna from the south, from the southeast, and from the northeast. So we are waiting for additional updates exactly from this area, because because it seems that the Russians launched a very powerful offensive, and their purpose is not just to improve their positions along the line of combat contact. It seems that the Russians have plans to move as deep as possible with the purpose to outflank the Novoekonomichno completely. Now let's discuss the situation in the Dnipropetrovsk area. The most important update is that the Russians answered the settlement of Zaporizhzhia. It was expected. It's not something that we didn't expect at all. During the previous days, the Russians were bombing and attacking this territory heavily with all types of calibers they have. Lots of strikes, aviation attacks, bombardments, artillery strikes, and of course FPV drone attacks. And today several sources reported that the Russians managed to enter the central street in the southeastern part of the village. This information was confirmed, which is most important, by the pro-Ukrainian resources and by neutral mappers. Now we have lots of proofs that the Russians answered the settlement, and if this happened, this means that most likely the Russians would be able to secure this small village of Zaporizhzhia probably during the next 24-48 hours. We are waiting for additional updates in this area, and maybe today the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation will confirm this information as well. The Russians are about to secure the territory on the Russian side of the river of Mokre Yale and the river of Volcha. And that's it for the short video. Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for your watching, subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.